Coleman, you say your 7-year marriage is on the rocks because you claim to have proof your wife cheated and is pregnant by another man. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
You say you will ask for a divorce when the results prove your case.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Coleman, you say you know your husband is your unborn child's father and hope your husband will learn to let your past be your past and start to trust you again. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Coleman, what's at stake today?
My marriage is at stake today. My sobriety and our kids is at stake today.
He's not the only one who has anything to lose. Like, it's my marriage. It's our family. It's what we have.
You've been together how long?
Coming up on 7.
Coming up on 7.
This is our anniversary month or something like that.
All right. And how many children do you have together?
4.
So this is a family.
Yes.
And so there is a lot at stake here.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me, when did this all begin?
Yeah.
We met on about 6 years ago. She was doing what she was doing. I was doing what I was doing. And
What were you all doing?
we was in addiction.
Okay.
Heavy.
We're here in court, so we just tell the truth.
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
She was like 3-4 months pregnant at that time, and she had a doctor appointment coming up, you know what I'm saying? I could see where she was a little bit distraught, because she said if she go back and the tests, those that she's been using, they're gonna take her baby from her. And at that time, I kidnapped her for like 3 days, you know what I'm saying? Wouldn't let her do nothing. And after that, she went to the doctor, came back, you know what I'm saying, gave me like the biggest hug, you know what I'm saying? Right there, I just felt the connection.
So
No,
she
ma'am.
was pregnant by someone else?
Yes.
And so you, when you say kidnap, what you really meant was you
To
kept
help.
her in a safe place
Yes.
so she could be clean.
Yes.
Is that how it happened?
Yes, Your Honor. When I first met him, I was 3 months pregnant, and we were in addiction. Now, being that I didn't want to feel anything and I didn't deem myself worthy of anything, the things that he was saying to me, like, brought the connection. You know, like, he would tell me, you don't have to do what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And I stayed around for that. Like, I really appreciated those affirmations, even though I didn't believe it myself. We kicked it for a little bit, and then I was like, you know, I don't even know who my baby daddy is. And he told me then, he was like, don't worry about it. You with me now, I'm that baby's daddy. And he did keep me in a safe place where I couldn't use. And that's what made me really fall for him. Like, he had this sweet, loving attitude towards me. And I really didn't feel like I was even worthy of being loved.
That touches you, huh,
Yeah,
Mr.
it
Coleman?
does, man. Looking at that picture too.
You remember that time?
Yes. We was happy then, man. We was very, very happy then, man. I want this marriage to work, man, but you know what I'm saying? These trust issues got to go, man, you know.
You got to a place where this marriage began to crumble?
To some certain extent, yes.
What happened?
Well, I had seek treatment, did that, and at the time I was still in contact with the kids, and they were still asking about their mama. We need to see mama. Can we see mama? And I'm like, really not a good time, but they was crying for her, so I took them to the place where we once dwelled in, you know what I'm saying? And they kind of touched her right there at that time. And I seen she wanted help, but didn't really know how to ask for it. So I asked, when you ever needed help, you know what I'm saying, just call me. You know what I'm saying? So she ended up calling me, and I took her to treatment.
You did. So you sought treatment first.
First, yes.
How long have you been clean?
I'm coming up on 2 years.
That's wonderful. Congratulations. And so you saw that your wife was still struggling.
Yes.
And you were trying to help her
Yes.
get clean as well.
Yes.
Have you been clean as well, Ms. Coleman, for a while?
For 10 months.
Very good. Very good. You talk about trust issues. At some point, you realize you're pregnant and it's within the marriage, but there's questions as to the paternity.
Yes.
What's going on then?
And the STD, you know what I'm saying? That's a real big thing. That was a head knocker. Right?
Hold on. I want to understand that. So wait a minute. You find out Ms. Coleman is pregnant, your wife.
The STD at the same time.
And when you find that out, you also find out she contracted an STD.
Yes.
No.
Is that true, Ms. Coleman?
No, Your Honor. I was on the streets. I was ripping and running. It was infidelity. I was very promiscuous. I masked a lot of things with men and drugs. So I didn't always protect myself, and that's on me. And when I got out of detox and got to go to the doctor, I had an STD.
And then when you found that out, Mr. Coleman, that is what began to fuel your doubt.
Yes, I'm telling you, we went to the doctor for this baby. That's when I found she had another STD. So, wow, that's another head kicker. If you had got treated in the beginning, so you shouldn't have it now.
Your Honor, when I found out I did have an STD, when he went to the clinic with me, they had told me then that it was not properly treated from the first time.
So what you're saying is, I did not contract another STD from
Correct.
another man.
Correct,
It was
Your
not
Honor.
treated correctly in the first place. However, for Mr. Coleman in his position,
It looks like.
it looks like. If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell.
Your Honor, we be on the bus stop sometimes, and I'll see guys trying to pick her up, and she would make comments like, "I can't go right now." And right there, that's like, what you mean you can't go right now? I was looking for you saying, "Hey, don't come to me like that." You know what I'm saying? That was like, man, a big shocker to me.
And let's be clear, Ms. Coleman, we understand that as he talks about these situations, we know that it's directly connected to the addiction issue that you were dealing with.
Yes, Your Honor.
But what you're saying, Mr. Coleman, is as she would say, "I can't go now," that indicated to you, well, you might have gone before or you might go later.
Yes.
And because of that, the pregnancy was surrounded by these kind of paternity doubts and
Yes.
issues. The entire time?
Yes, the entire time. Yes.
Sorry, tell it like it is.
Yes.
That's what we do. So you find out you're pregnant. Mr. Coleman says he's in doubt. Do you talk to her about that doubt?
Yes and no, you know what I'm saying? Because that's a touchy subject right there.
May I,
you know what I'm saying?
Your Honor, because this is like on April the 16th, I took a home pass to go be with my mother and my father just to transition back into some people's lives who are important to me.
And when you say you took a home pass, I want to be clear, is that because you were in a treatment facility?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So it was on a Friday. He was like, well, Saturday, why don't we do something after I get off from work? And I was like, cool. So we hook up, we go to the hotel. Sunday, I go back home and everything is cool. Weeks later, my breasts start hurting and I realized like I haven't had a period. So I call him and I'm like, I think I might be pregnant. And I was like, we're gonna have to get a test. That was that. The next time I heard from Mr. Coleman, he's asking me like, well, how do you feel about going on a paternity court? And I was like, what do we need all that for?
So you were offended when he suggested to you that he wanted to appear before me in this courtroom, because until then you weren't aware that he had any doubts as to the paternity.
Yeah,
Let me ask
we
you
only
this.
had sex like one time, you know.
Well, it only takes once, Mr. Coleman, let's be clear. But you find out you're pregnant, so you think you calling with good news, family news.
Yeah.
And then you find out he doubts it.
And that was a crazy.
And now the marriage is on the rocks because of this.
If it's not mine, it's a divorce.
Both of you have dealt with something very serious, which is addiction. And it's not a game.
You're right.
We know addiction affects not only the parties, but also their families and their children.
Yes.
Because of that, I wanted to call upon an expert that has a lot of experience in this particular subject area. And I'd like to get his input before we proceed. Joining us in court today is Dr. Drew Pinsky. Hi, Dr. Drew, can you hear me?
Glad to have you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much for being here. I realize you have called upon my legal expertise on your own program, and now I need to call on your medical expertise here today. Both parties, husband and wife, have admittedly struggled with addiction. They've been clean, Mr. Coleman for 2 years, Ms. Coleman for 10 months. And quite frankly, Dr. Drew, I need to know whether or not this entire emotional situation related to the paternity of their unborn child could in any way trigger them negatively, because I don't want to give anyone results, quite frankly, that they're just not prepared to handle. And I need to know what you think.
Judge, I think you will help things by giving them these results. I think this pregnancy has already destabilized their recovery. And you've connected the dots here. It's not just a family, children, that are at risk here. These two, their lives are at risk. They have a life-threatening condition called addiction. Amen. Mr. Coleman has been quite serious about his recovery. He's 2 years now. I believe he's living in a sober living, so that's a sign of the seriousness with which he's taking his recovery. Mrs. Coleman, by her own admission here in the court, has been slipping and sliding around. My fear is Mrs. Coleman may not be being totally honest, so this will force her to be honest, get this out of the way, and then move on in her recovery. But the focus on these two individual recoveries must be what their priority is moving forward, or they both could die, there is no family, and the children lose their parents. So there is a ton at risk here, but I believe, Judge, by telling them the facts and maintaining rigorous honesty, you will really help them in this case.
Thank you so much, Dr. Drew.
Thank you.
Stay with us, please, if you can. So, Ms. Coleman, Dr. Drew just spoke about honesty. And earlier today, I said to your husband, this is where we are. We're in a courtroom. We're supposed to tell the truth and lay it on the line. Is there something you need to tell your husband?
Coleman, I love you. And like when you rolled up on me with the kids, and I was out there still in the madness, I seen something in you. You had this glow about you, and you told me you were sober, but I was trying to control something that had literally controlled me for so long. And I didn't understand. But you did, and you see me hurting, and you reached out your hand. I make a commitment every morning not to put one in me and to remain faithful. I've been doing it. I've been doing it. I love you.
Dr. Drew, as you can see, the stakes are very high today. Do you have any last pieces of advice?
Yes. Of course, ideally, we'd love them to be into couples therapy, but that's costly. But there's 12-step programs that are free. Get your sponsor. Capitulate. In Mrs. Coleman's case, it will be a woman. She should have at least 5 to 10 years of sobriety herself. Mr. Coleman, I'm sure you already have a sponsor.
Yes.
Listen to what they say and follow their direction. It is free. Your sobriety, your life depends upon your sobriety. Treat this disease accordingly.
And Dr. Drew, I have to ask you this, because unfortunately in this courtroom, we don't always get the answers we want. If the answers go their way, of course that's positive. But if it does not, where do they go from there? How do they stay on track?
Well, Mr. Coleman, it sounds like he's going to have to make a decision. Is he going to hang in with this, even though it's someone else's child, or not? But he, again, must prioritize his recovery. Can I stay sober and do this? And she, the same, has to make amends, has to clear the slate, and move forward. I hope it's his child. It may be, but it may not be. What's important is the truth.
Yes.
That's why we're here. Thank you so much, Dr. Drew, for being here. We really appreciate your expertise. We needed it.
Thank you, Judge.
Well, family, we're here now. It's difficult, but I think we're ready for the results. Jerome? These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. Now, in order for us to determine paternity, a prenatal DNA test was performed. A blood sample was drawn from the mother, and fetal DNA was isolated from that sample. Genetic analysis was performed, and a probability of paternity was generated. In the case of Coleman versus Coleman, when it comes to the child that Mrs. Coleman is currently carrying, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Coleman, you are the father.
No more comments.
Congratulations.
Thank you. No more comments. None of that no more.
Can we move forward now?
Yes,
We
ma'am.
can move forward.
Yes.
I'm glad we could be here for you in this time.
Thank you.
You all have been through a lot. You've overcome a lot.
Amen.
And I hope you heard Dr. Drew when he talked about that this was a lifelong commitment,
It
right?
is.
Yes.
And you're doing it for yourselves, first and foremost, and for your children. But if you don't take care of yourselves,
We won't be no good for the children.
there you go.
No.
You know, I say sometimes in this courtroom, my grandmother used to have such wise sayings. And she says, everybody's got their little red wagon. Do you know what that means?
No.
That means everybody carries into a relationship something they drag
Right.
behind them. You know how you walk with a wagon?
Okay.
Some of us carry little red wagons, some of us carry huge red wagons full of stuff. Both of you have your own. But still about doing what you need to do to overcome everything you've been through. Ms. Spencer, you're suing the defendant, your sister, for defaming your mother's name by now claiming Mr. Smith is her father.
That's right, Your Honor.
You say today's paternity results will prove he is not. Ms. Garner, you believe Mr. Smith is your biological father, even though he came into your life only years ago and never knew your mother was pregnant or that he could be your father.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Spencer, how has she defamed your mother? Explain that.
I believe that my sister is defaming my mother's name by making accusations that Mr. Smith is her father. All of our life, we have believed that this man right here, Lucius Kirkland, is the man that is Carmen's father. This is the man that my mother has said to be her father, and this is the man that I believe is her father. And I believe that today, with this DNA test, once it comes back, she will know that this is her father. My mother was a very strong-willed woman that spoke her mind, and I do not believe, Your Honor, that my mother would have left this earth without letting Carmen know who she belonged to. And by making these accusations, she's defaming who.
Well, I never made the accusations. I heard about him when I was in the 7th grade.
What
Well,
did you hear in the 7th grade,
I
Ms. Garner?
was going to school. I was in the 7th grade, and there was a lady that came up to me and she said, "I am your aunt," which would be his baby sister. So my mother was still living at that time. And I went home and I asked my mother about the accusations. And she told me these people was making it up. It wasn't true.
And in the whole, Your Honor, and may I interject to say, if she heard about that in the 7th grade, that would have made you how old, Carmen?
About 12 or 13.
And when did he come to you?
When I was 37 years old.
That means he thought about it when she was 12 or 13 too, Your Honor. That's when he should have stood up.
So, Ms. Garner, your mother told you when you approached her and said someone had said this to you, she said they're lying.
She said they're lying, they made it up. So
And you
that
left it alone from there.
I left it alone from there. My mother died when I was 17 years old.
Okay.
She was 39 years old. She died from lupus. I had did an article in the newspaper when I was 37 years old. It was about being homeless and on drugs with a drug addiction. I had went to Lucius Kirkland's house to wash clothes. When I got back to the shelter, they said a man called and said he seen that article in that newspaper about you being homeless and on drugs, and he had called, Mr. Smith had called the shelter and told them that he was my father.
Really?
Yes.
And so, Mr. Smith, you remember making that phone call?
Yes, Your Honor. I did.
Tell me what happened.
Well, after I was in the paper, in the Canton paper, I got a call from my oldest daughter that Carmen is is your daughter. I started reading the paper, and then what happened was, then I started to try to communicate with her, with Carmen. This is 20 years later.
She saw the article
Yes.
and called you
Yes, ma'am.
and said, this is your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you believe? Why did she believe that?
Because there been rumors that I was her father.
Did you hear those rumors through the years?
Yes, but her mom never said anything to me about it. She never even mentioned it. I'm not here to defame anybody. and I'm not here to deny my
Your
responsibilities.
Honor, I just want to speak on behalf of my mother who is not here. Now, I can understand that he say he heard and he lived in a town called Alliance, and we live in a town called Canton. And Carmen's biological father, Lucius Kirkland, lives in a town called Maslin. With all those towns together, it is about 30 miles long. Everybody knows Andy, everybody knows Barney, and everybody's Aunt M is Aunt M. So if you heard this once before, why didn't you stand up then? Why would it take your grown daughter to come and tell you that that woman right there is your child based on an article in the paper? And even after that article ran, he still was a sit-down father. He hasn't stood up yet, but today he comes to stand, and today I come to prove the point that this man is her father.
So, Mr. Smith, Ms. Spencer makes a point. If you'd heard those rumors over the years, but her mother had never said anything to you, you do remember her mother, am I correct?
Correct.
You remember having a sexual relationship with her?
Yes.
You were never told she was pregnant. You never even knew this.
No, I did not, Your Honor.
Now let's go back into this conversation. Because Carmen said when she was in the 7th grade, his younger sister said, "You are my niece." That means for another 7-year-old, a 7th grader, or maybe 9th grader, to approach a 7th grader to say, "You are my niece." That conversation was somewhere in y'all household. He lived in a
Well, I will say this, right or wrong, and you probably won't accept it because you've got your mind made up. But I've sat in this seat for a long time and helped a lot of families. It is not unusual. He says he didn't know. If he did know, it's not unusual, and we see very often, Jerome can attest to this, men in Mr. Smith's position that stay on the outskirts, even when they hear these rumors. Back in the day, I'm sure if she was in a relationship, like you said, or they had a family and Lucius was deemed to be her father, many people during those times would say, you leave well enough alone unless somebody comes say something to you.
I never ever heard nothing about a Mr. Smith until Mr. Smith popped up and said that he may be.
After the article.
After the article had ran.
But I heard before that.
And
So, Mr.
heard.
Smith, when you were with Ms. Garner's mother and Ms. Spencer's mother, did you remember her also being in a relationship with someone else? Lucius, anybody? Do you remember that?
Well, we dated for about a year.
Okay.
But at that particular time, Your Honor, I did not.
Okay.
If he dealt with her for a whole year, he had to have known something. You know, you don't just get a woman pregnant and then you don't see her no more. After a year, there's feelings. After a year, you call her every now and then. After a year, you see her every now and then. My mother hung out.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
They had to have some type of relationship. Babies don't fall out the sky.
They definitely don't fall out the sky. But this accusation right here, it fell from somewhere. It came up out of somewhere.
And that's why we're here today.
And
because it came up out of
then let's
somewhere.
open up this
and I
envelope.
want you
Let's
to be
get this.
okay. I want the rest of my sisters to be okay. What it does for me, if we're somewhere, because he has other children, 20 years ago, they embraced me. They say, this is our sister.
They did?
Yes, they
20 years ago.
Yes, but it's never been proven through DNA. So if we're somewhere, like maybe at an event, at a store, and they walk up and I say, well, this is my sister, Kathy. Kathy, this is my sister. And she'll walk away and might say, them ain't none of your sisters. You're crazy.
Your Honor, I never ever remember saying that none of them was her sister. At the end of the day and the beginning of the day, I'm worried about these accusations and the defaming of my mother's name.
I'm here because this is our mother.
That's correct.
And at the end of the day, all of y'all are my sisters. And I'm only here because there are other siblings involved. And I need to know, for me, you know, because a lot of time you'll look at me and say, well, what difference is it going to change? What is it going to change? It's going to change who my brothers and sisters are, or it's going to change who they are not. And that's why I'm here today. And that's why it's important to me.
So-
Because y'all seem to always have a question of, Why is it so important?
Because we've always had the same question,
It's
Carmen.
still important to me.
That you're always looking for love in all the wrong places. And once again,
I wasn't looking for no love.
And once again, here you are looking for
But I
some
wasn't
love.
looking for love, Kathy. I did an article on homelessness and drug addiction,
Ms.
which
Garner,
says need help.
Let me ask you this. Do you believe your mother cheated on the man that you knew to be your biological father?
I believe my mother was 20 years old, and if I can remember doing things when I was 20 years old, it could be very much so possible. For me to stand here and say, no, it never happened, and I know it didn't happen. Kathy was 8 years old when Mom died. I was 17, I'm the oldest.
Okay.
She has all these stories, and she sits down and she acts like Mother sat around like at a fire camp and told them all their business. She
Okay.
didn't do that.
Okay. So, Ms. Garner, you submitted pictures to the court. This is a split screen of you as a child and Lucius, Mr. Kirkland.
That's her dad, Your Honor. Look at those resemblance. Look at that nose. Look at that mouth. That is the man who I believe, when my mother made those accusations, Lucius went to jail whenever he did not pay. And this is only what they've told me. My mother did not play. She would have never sent a man to jail. If there was going to be a man go to jail, it would have been him for not paying child support. She wouldn't have did that to him knowing in her heart that Carmen did not belong to him.
But what if she didn't know in her heart? Because I believe when I was younger, you know, that was okay. But as I've gotten older, I can go places. They say, oh, you look just like Mr. Smith. We know who your dad is. This has nothing to do with me. I don't run around saying, Mr. Smith is my dad. People walk up to me and say,
This comes to you is what you're saying.
yes.
That even when you're not looking for that level of
they'll
validation
say, I know
or
who
information.
your father is. You're Bubba Smith's daughter. I say, well, that's what they say. It hasn't been proven.
So,
no.
Ms. Spencer, let me ask you, why do you think, when you said earlier she's looking for love in all the wrong places, why do you feel like she is nurturing this relationship? Do you think she truly believes that this is her father?
I believe this is what she wants to believe. I believe that in life, you have a person, such as Carmen's father, who passed away, opposed to say that she's Alex's child, to say, I can follow behind him.
First of all, I don't need a father to follow behind. I have my own life to follow behind. And one thing for certain, and two for sure, if he turns out to be my father, I've had two great stepfathers. So I ain't looking for no dad, because I've been truly blessed in the father department.
Then
So I don't need to run around claiming no father.
Okay, if that's the case, then what are you looking for?
I'm looking for truth.
Okay.
That's
well,
what I'm looking for.
Then let's go.
today, I'm gonna get it.
Today.
That's what I'm looking for, and today, I'm gonna get it.
And
Because
today,
Ms. Spencer, you do understand. If you are just living your life and people keep walking up to you talking about, you look just like this person, you look like that person, you look like, and you remember as early as 7th grade someone telling you this and you addressed it with your mother, you were told they were lies, but the seed had been planted. You know, there's a saying, you can't unring a bell. So when that happened, the bell was rung. And then these subsequent interactions, moments, only reinforce what she had heard as a child. And so her desire to have just the truth and to know once and for all, I think is very credible.
See, it started with an article about homelessness and drug addiction. Who claims that? Who just says, that's me and that's mine and I want to help it? That don't say Carmen hit $1 million lottery.
Okay.
That says need help.
Okay, so Your Honor, who claims that? Answer that question for me. Because if I had a child that I didn't know that was my child, and the article ran, and they said that they were needing help for whatever they needed help with, please answer me, what kind of help did he give her?
Mrs. Smith, did you help her?
Your Honor.
You called her, we know that.
Your Honor, I called her. Not only that, let me set the record straight here, please. I am 78 years old. I have 14 children. I took care of all of my children, 14 of them, and I'm not a deadbeat dad. I'm just slow and I take it easy and I don't say much. But when I found out this was my child, supposedly, that's why we're here today, I took her under my wings, and all of my children, they love her, and they know that.
Okay.
So I'm not here as a deadbeat dad. I'm here to set the record straight, Your Honor.
Your Honor, let's just get it over with.
With that said, are we ready for the results? Because I have them for you.
Yes,
we ready?
are.
All right. If you'd like to take a seat, anyone, I know this has been very emotional for everyone. If you'd like to take a seat, sir, ma'am, anybody, you're
ready.
more than welcome. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Spencer versus Garner Smith, when it comes to 57-year-old Carmen Garner, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Smith, you are her father.
Glory.
Thank God.
Judge, could I please say one more thing?
What would you like to say, sir?
I watch your show all the time. This is the gospel. I was watching your show, and the young lady called me, and I said, you know, I don't do that other stuff. I said, I'm watching Judge Lake. She said, oh, that's where you going. I said, well, let's go, you know, but before that, I wasn't going to go on no show. But God bless you, and I really love you.
Well,
And
thank you.
continue.
Ms. Bargy, I wanted to speak to you in my chambers before we started your hearing.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because I realize you are going to have to deal with some very real truths out there.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your husband and the man you cheated with, they both think they're your daughter's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor. I don't know where else to turn.
All right.
I want her to be a part of her father's life, but right now I don't know who her father is, so I feel horrible about it. I should have fixed my marriage, but instead I ran off and done some things that I shouldn't have.
I understand. And we are not perfect people. And we have to sometimes walk through the fire, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
To get to the other side. And I appreciate that you have the courage today to walk through that fire for your daughter. You ready to start the hearing?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Please be seated.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello.
This is the case of Bargy versus Lawson.
Thank you, Jerome. Good day, everyone. Good day. Ms. Bargy, you and I spoke briefly in my chambers.
Yes, Your Honor.
You admit you cheated on your husband, and now you are caught in a paternity triangle, with both men believing they fathered your 2-month-old daughter, McKenna.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are hoping today's DNA results prove that your husband is her father so you can save your marriage. Is this correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Bargy,
Yes, sir.
you have fallen in love with McKenna and you're desperately hoping she is your biological daughter. Is that
Yes,
correct?
Your Honor.
Are you both ready to face the man with whom she had the affair?
Yes, Your
Yes,
Honor.
Your Honor.
Jerome, can you please escort Mr. Lawson and his girlfriend into the courtroom?
I'm gonna go over here on the left.
Mr. Lawson, you admit to having an affair with a married woman, and you claim that you, not her husband, are McKenna's biological father. Is that true?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Bargy, I want to start with you. Tell us how we got here.
I was with my husband. We had been married and we'd been having some problems. And then I started talking to Calvin again. And then from there, I had an affair on my husband, and now I'm in a mess to where I do not know who her father is. And this is why we're here today, because I want to find out, because McKenna deserves to know the truth.
And as you stand here today, you are completely honest that you don't know whether your husband, Mr. Bargy, or your ex, Mr. Lawson, is McKenna's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
And as you stand here between these two men, how do you feel?
I'm overwhelmed. I honestly hope that my husband is the father, because he's been there for her. He's doing everything he can to provide for her, and he's been more of a father than Mr. Lawson has.
So, Mr. Bargy,
Yes.
you've fallen in love with McKenna.
Yes.
Tell me about the relationship you have with her.
I could be at work for 10 to 12 hours a day. I take 5 minutes out of my time, busy or not at work, video call, sit here like that right there. I wake her up when I get home. And as soon as she hears my voice, she's smiling. And as soon as she hears the car pull in, she knows I'm home.
So that's your baby. In your heart, that's your baby.
That is my baby.
And you are hoping that today's results affirm that. Mr. Lawson, I have to say, as you look at this video, though, you believe you are McKenna's biological father. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor. I believe I am, because I was around. She was with me when she got pregnant. I was there for the whole pregnancy. I was there when McKenna was born.
Ms. Bargy, can you explain to the court how we got here?
I was having issues with my husband when I came back. We had been together for about a month, and we ended up having intimate time. And then a few weeks later, me and Mr. Lawson reincarnated, and we got back together. And,
You reincarnated?
well, I'm trying to put it into words. We got back together because we have been together on and off for 5 years.
Oh, you reconnected?
Yes.
Okay, and you started having sex as well?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's where we are now, because the conception dates, I was given 3 different conception dates and 3 different due dates. So everything kind of just, the timelines don't add up with everything, and that's what we're here for, is to find out the truth.
Ah. So take me to the day you found out you were pregnant.
The day that I found out was the end of April. It was April the 27th. The whole month of April, I was getting sick, and I took a pregnancy test, and then it came back that I was pregnant.
Who did you tell first?
I told my mother first, and me and Calvin had been living together. And when
Oh, Mr. Lawson?
yes,
So when you broke up with your husband after you had the affair, you started living with Mr. Lawson?
we ended up getting a place together right after me and my husband split up.
Ah. So you tell Mr. Lawson, I'm pregnant.
Yes.
And what were your thoughts, Mr. Lawson? Were you happy?
I thought I was happy, because me and her talked about, a family, a life together.
And so you believed her, and you believed this is the start of the family. You two said you wanted together.
Yes, ma'am.
This baby. But Ms. Bargy, at that time, did you also know that your husband could potentially be the father?
At first, I thought it was Calvin for sure, but then going back the dates and everything, things started to not add up. And so I got confused, and I didn't really know who to tell.
Tell me about the time when you actually got up the courage to tell your husband that you were pregnant and McKenna could be his child.
I did not tell my husband, period. He had a mutual friend that was on my Facebook, and they had actually sent him a picture of me posting an ultrasound, and then he started contacting me, and then finally I had to sit down with him and talk to him and tell him, okay, well, I am pregnant. And then we started talking about the dates and everything, and even Mr. Bargy had stated that he could be the father as well because of the dates.
So it was you, Mr. Bargy, who said, listen, if this story is true, these dates add up to me being McKenna's biological father.
Yes, because there was multiple times that we slept together.
So you, well, wait, I thought you were living with Mr. Lawson.
Yes.
But you were cheating on Mr. Lawson with your husband?
We had slept together one time, and that was due to the fact that he had spoken to one of my friends, and they had talked about actually being together. It was, my friend was one of his exes. His ex actually messaged me and was showing me messages that him and her were sleeping together when
Who,
me and him.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
So you cheated on your husband with Mr. Lawson, decided to go get a house with Mr. Lawson to only find out that he was cheating on you. She told you that he was still sleeping with her, so you went back and started sleeping with your husband.
Yes.
Your Honor.
Now that's a mess if I've ever heard one.
I'm not here to make it about me and him. I'm here to make it about that little girl right there.
Yes.
That right there is my world.
That indeed is who it is about. And unfortunately for this little girl, there are multiple players here. Miss Bargy, who were you with when McKenna was born?
I was with Calvin.
Mr. Lawson.
Yes, I was with Mr.
Was
Lawson.
he present at the birth? Were you at the birth, Mr. Lawson?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
You participated? You were there through the whole thing?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you sign her birth certificate?
No, ma'am.
No, because I'm still married by the state of Tennessee. So
Right.
I tried to explain that because my last name is still my husband's last name, that McKenna's last name would have to go as Bargy because of the fact that me and Mr. Lawson were not married.
Right. And for the record, you and your husband are back together now.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor.
But he wasn't present.
No. I did not call him and tell him I was going into labor because I did not want anything between Mr. Lawson and Mr. Bargy to occur at the hospital.
So you said you had to give McKenna your husband's last name.
Yes, Your Honor.
But is your husband on the birth certificate?
No, Your Honor, he has not. I put that mother refused information because of everything that was going on.
And I suppose from your testimony, Mr. Bargy, you would have liked to be on the birth certificate regardless because you've accepted this baby and you want this baby in your life.
Yes.
And based upon the timeline, you believe you are McKenna's biological father. And I heard you say, Ms. Bargy, that you got multiple windows of conception and due dates, which they do often shift when you're having a baby.
Yes, Your Honor.
But the problem is because you were with both of these men within the span of a few weeks, so even when you adjust it, the doubt doesn't really disappear.
No, it does not, Your Honor.
I understand. So what is your relationship now like with McKenna, Mr. Lawson? What is your relationship? You say you believe she's your biological child. What type of relationship do you have with her?
Right now, I don't have a relationship because when Miss Bargy left, we have talked and tried to set up times for me to see her, but there is a lack of information.
You feel like she's being evasive.
Your Honor, I have given him plenty opportunities to see her. I've called him 3 and 4 days in advance and said, look, do you want to see her on this day? And he'll say, I will let you know. I'll have to come up with some money. I don't have a job right now, this and that. And it's been 4 different times, and I can count on my hands how many times that he's actually messaged me about how is McKenna doing and things like that. That is why I am hoping that it's my husband's.
I have personally took days off of work when he says he's going to be there.
Ah, and you're saying, Mr. Bargy, that he makes the plan, but he doesn't show up.
There's been times where he'll message her, and then there'd be about a week we don't hear nothing from him. I mean, if it was my kid, I'd be messaging every day. Like, I don't care if I'm at work, if I lose my job or what. I'm calling to check on my kids. My kids ain't replaceable. My job is.
So, Ms. Bargy, the stakes really are high for you today.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I can see that you've been honest about this, the fact that you've gotten yourself into this mess.
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you thought about the results? If Mr. Lawson is McKenna's biological father, have you thought about where you go from here?
If Mr. Lawson is her father, I do not want him to be a part of her life, period. Like, I want rights terminated because my daughter deserves so much better. My husband has been there and took care of her since all this has happened. He has been an amazing father, and at this point, McKenna deserves so much better.
Well, I believe this court has heard enough testimony. Jerome, I'm ready for the results.
Okay.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Bargy versus Lawson, pertaining to whether Mr. Bargy or Mr. Lawson is the father of 2-month-old McKenna Bargy, it has been determined by this court. The biological father is Mr. Lawson. You are McKenna's biological father, Mr. Lawson.
That's okay. I'm still gonna raise her.
Do you want to be in her life?
Yes, Your Honor.
You do. The fact that he wants to be a part of her life, you guys got to figure this out.
But I won't.
How, Mr. Bargy, okay. We all know where you stand. Unfortunately, you can't out-talk this DNA. You can't. We know how you feel, but it just didn't go that way. It just didn't. We deal in reality in this courtroom. What is the reality of the situation? So wouldn't it be better if from the beginning she had the love of both men? Why not? She deserves it. So you got to start from ground zero and work your way through the issues. This is complicated, but we made our bed, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now we got to figure this out. So now that we have the truth, we are operating from a different vantage point. And no little girl needs a pop-up pops. I say that all the time. We don't need a pop-up pops. Don't just be popping up. We need dedicated dads, right?